paint spatters removed, notes edge mold warped here and there, taped on all three due to no shim gaps. Fascinating. A view into his world of construction. Glenn, husband, father, grandfather, builder, birder, walker, writer, always curious, always in love with the mystery. Been here in southeastern Iowa mostly since 1977. Just got back from a 3,500-mile round trip visiting family in the Rockies where he grew up. Happy to be here. Happy to be reading with these good folk.
Well, that was interesting that you read those parent poems, because I was just visiting my parents, 81 and 85. And my father's very alert, but the body's starting to go. And then at the same time, I was visiting my oldest son and my grandson, so hitting some generations. And so I'll start by reading my first grandfather poem. Actually, it's my only grandfather poem. I guess I'm due. I guess it was a couple summers ago. He was 2.5, I think. And I dropped in that summer. And this, I don't have one in my pocket. I generally do. Classic Carpenter pencil, Ticonderoga, the yellow hexagonal. Planting pencils. You have to understand, I was desperate. I had to dig deep, but all I could come up with was a couple of scrappy little Ticonderogas, whittled to blunt stubs, burnished to a slick wood shine. A pair probably intimate as old lovers, having rubbed against one another in the dark folds of my pocket, since last I was here most of a year ago, when the dude had only a bare handful of words. Da, da, the one he hollered in his homemade pine beetle costume at the dog parade on his second Halloween, as he drug us in and out of the schnauzers, dressed as hot dogs, pimps, and cereal boxes, in tutus and floppy hats and dangling scarves, even a white Catholic pope. So when he took me by the finger less than a half hour after I'd arrived, and led me with his purple trowel to the raised bed, we planted them both, because this is what a grandfather does, empty-handed, road-weary, a body beginning to come apart at the seams. He offers up whatever he has in the off chance it will grow. My daughter-in-law, let's see, at that time I guess she was in her doctorate, and part of her doctorate is studying pine beetles, so he ended up in a pine beetle costume for his first official Halloween. Maybe I'll read a couple of bird poems, and then I'm going to read 6 or 7 little short poems that mostly what I've been writing in the last 6 months. A bunch have come to me, and then I'm going to end with a kind of a combination bird poem and short poem that kind of started this flurry. So this is called On the Sheetwater. It's about some birds called American avocets. I just saw hundreds and hundreds of them out west. Here it's a big deal. Out there it's like, it's common shorebird. Sheetwater is very shallow, a large body of very shallow water, so it looks their way out. It looks like it ought to be deep, yet they're often right on the surface. On the sheetwater, here, on the sheetwater, in a script I could never imagine. 14 black and white bodies bending over the bright blue pencils of legs, long orange necks and heads down, sweeping side to side in the shallows, in the muck, in the shimmering blankness. of the unknown, as if feeding on the invisible itself, as they march ravenous, as they prowl in a compact column, back and forth between the thin, broken, and barely discernible shoals. A song without a singer. Days and days later, still singing inside me. I don't know what to say about this one, so I'll just read it. Here comes one now. I guess that's after the line after a poem. It's, or no, a song. A song. Yeah, I can't remember. It's an old dumb song, but anyway, here comes one now. It must be mostly a guy thing to get up, but not too early. Slip into your finest and motor to the next big town over, where all the pretty gulls gather, to hang, mingle, and promenade, mewling and squawking along the river. This time to zoom in on an errant California gem, dressed like a tramp in pink lipstick and orange stockings. And there she is now, swooping in and out among the locals. Everybody caught up in the excitement, wheeling around for another run down the gauntlet or peeling off to idle, primp and preen in twos and threes among the milling throngs, the bystanders and onlookers, all of us in our various ways here to feed on the dazed windfall of this, the only joint open for miles. I guess it was winter in Ottumwa, just below the dam, the only open spot on the river, so all the gulls had gathered there, and there was a California juvenile, which is pretty unusual. So there's a group of poems I'll read, I don't know, 5 or 6. I forgot to look at the time, but I got an idea here. Yeah, so, and then I'll read one last bird poem and turn over to Nika. I think this was the first one that came. These are, I think, actually in order of how they came. So it's called Because. Because this, whatever this happens to be, the light-streaked, pain-etched, laughter-riddled car wreck we call life, tumbles and keeps on tumbling, moment after moment down, over these shoulders and through the scarred fingers of these outstretched hands. Because. All day long. All day long, the net of the senses drifts in the river of time. All day long, things snag, flopping and gasping in its invisible web, then break free and disappear back into the river's inexorable flow. All day long. Even the body gets snagged, breaks free, and again disappears. Even the body, even the soul. As if the vast, convoluted geography of the past and future that weighs this sweet, brief world down could be finally cast aside, setting our lives adrift once and for all, small and vulnerable and blessedly free, at sea on the raft of the senses. so many. Here, on this lit stage, round as the moon, so many fingers pointing. Like a pebble dropped into the lake of the body, a small, hard question. The pluke the question makes when the body rises up to swallow it. All the bright concentric rings rippling out from the center. As the question sinks through the slanting light, it begins to wobble and waver. Nobody knows how deep the body goes. Look at us, gathered like the blind around this elephant we call the world. Arms out, each pair of hands on its own little piece of the elephant pie. Everybody shooting from the hip or nosing around. Nobody with the big picture. It's the elephant in the room, isn't it? Even the wise with only one pair of hands. If the heart hangs inside the cradle of the chest like a child, and the braided muscles dangle down like long, colorful scarves and ribbons and ropes around it before spilling into the legs below. Then every step we take, however ungainly, no matter how much we falter and stumble, is an act of grace that pulls on the ropes and makes the ribbons and scarves flutter and dance and sets the cradle rocking for the child inside our chest who loves to sing. How the earth does it. Arms continuously open in gratitude or prayer. She wheels herself around and around in a kind of dance. At every moment, somewhere on her body, offering up out of the darkness another part of herself to this unknowable splendor we call the sun. So beautiful. Oh, how the mystery loves to dress up and masquerade as the 10,000 things. This morning, so beautiful, she is blushing. And then I'll end with this poem, which is a bird poem, but it kind of enters into that little run that I just did. So it's a nice transition poem. It comes at the end. Exactly nothing. Skipping work, I haul my guilt through the fog and pre-dawn dark to the Mecca of prairie cordgrass along the russet banks of Buckshot Pond, and arrive just as the sun begins to break over my shoulders and onto the golden chest-high grasses, and gather about me my implements of worship, and wade out into this sea of glory, to pay homage to one of these rare and perky migrants of this planet who tell me exactly nothing, which is exactly what I have come